So when I tell a lot of people, my story about manifesting my careers, and manifesting, my jobs and things like that, they always ask me, has there ever been really a time when you didn't get what you want, where you weren't happy, where things weren't going your way? And it was just recently when I truly discovered how I was getting all these other jobs was, this just focusing on how it felt and being happy. And because for a while there, just in recent years, I've really, really struggled with, well, where do I want to be? Am I really reaching my goal? I ended up, getting an Emmy, which I'd worked 17 years to actually get, had my eye on the prize. I focused on, I knew what it felt like to have when I wanted this in my hands. And I ended up achieving it, and that night I cried. Because it was like, well, what's next? And because I sat there and cried and worried about what was next, it's almost like everything went into a downward spiral for me. I mean, I suddenly focused on the fact that for 17 years, no life, no boyfriend, no vacation, nothing, just eye on the prize. And I get the prize. And I didn't know what else to expect. Like, suddenly it's like I felt happy, but then I focused on tomorrow, not embracing the now. And I mean, literally went on a downward spiral. And when you start focusing on the negative and you start fearing what you don't have, then you suddenly, those fears start coming true. And they become more and more true. And work, my work just kept getting worse. And I became less focused, less sure, had less clarity. I knew I wanted to get out of my job. I knew I wanted to have a relationship. I knew I wanted a great friends around, but I wasn't getting any of it. People in my life were dying. My job was just getting more and more miserable, and I was like, and I couldn't get out of this downward spiral, and it was horrible. And then just suddenly I decided to make that shift, thanks to a friend of mine. And that's where things started making sense for me, how I had gotten things in my past. I'm like, how did I get these things in my past? Why can't I get these things now? Why do I feel lost in my career? But I kept telling the same story of getting this Emmy and then crying and then spending 17 years of my life, no boyfriend. I was focusing on the negative side of everything. And that's what I was attracting in my life, all this negativity. And I didn't realize that until my friend told me, and she's like, Kym, I don't want you to ever tell that story again with that energy, with that intention. I want you to start focusing on what feels right to you. Focus on the happiness. Focus on what feels good, because you have a choice in your life. You can feel fear. You can stress that you don't have any money, or that you're not going to get the job of your dreams and you're not going to pay your rent. You could focus on that. But really, the fact of the matter is, you have to pay your rent. You have to have friends. You have to somehow have a relationship. You have to have a job. Right? It's just, you have to look at it like you have no choice, or you are going to be out on your butt. You are going to be unhappy, and who wants to be unhappy? Who wants to be homeless? You need to focus on what feels good in order to attract what feels good. And so I'll give you an example of how that's really worked in my life, that I realize now how I was able to be so successful in news, is that I could go into work every day fearing that I was going to get a story that would not pan out, and I would not be able to get on the 6 o'clock news and have my story as required, and I would be fired. Or I could go into work every single day feeling fantastic and excited about the unknown and about the opportunity to get a new story every day, and the fact that I have no choice but to get on the 6 o'clock news with something. Something has to pan out. It could be a half hour before the 6 o'clock news, and I may have nothing, but you know what? I have no choice. I have to have a story on that 6 o'clock news. And so if you go into every single day going, I have no choice. I I have to pay my bills. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. I have to meet this deadline. So if you feel you have to meet this deadline, like there's no other way around it, you're going to meet that deadline. So why stress about it? Why worry about it? Why not just be proactive? Because no matter what, you have to meet that deadline. I don't know about you, but in college, I mean, I would sit there and wait till the last minute to do my pieces, but I had no choice. But at 7:30, I needed to turn in my 14-page paper that I've had to write all semester, but I waited till the night before at 11 o'clock at night to wait for inspiration. And somehow this song gets on the radio. Sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug. And suddenly I have my thesis sentence for how the water systems in California should work. I mean, it was the best, my teacher said it was the best paper written on that topic. And it's still, he uses it to this day. He emailed me, like last year I got this email from him saying, your paper is still the best one. I'm like, 14-page paper. I knew it had to be in by 7:30 that morning. Even though it was 11 o'clock and other people had taken all semester to write it, it had to be in at 7:30 in the morning. Would it do any good to stress about getting it done? No. It just has to get done. So, and it feels good, and you feel accomplished, right? So focus on feeling good and feeling accomplished. And feeling, what it feels like to meet that deadline, because you just have to do it, and you're going to do it.